Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all my Naturia Bamboo Shoot Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for April 2023. I really do love Naturia Bamboo Shoot. I'd say it's one of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. I base my whole channel around the card for a good amount of it. Naturias are one of my favorite decks. It was one of the first cards I got when I got back into Yu-Gi-Oh! And I just love the aesthetic of the card, the whole card effect with its lockdown playstyle being one of the strongest Naturia main deck monsters. Really has a lot going for it for the card, so really did my best for a deck that focuses on the playstyle of Naturia Bamboo Shoot. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck. For the monsters, I am running 3 copies of Naturia Bamboo Shoot. It's your main go-to monster, and if it's summoned by tributing a Naturia monster, while this card remains face up on the field, your opponent cannot activate spell or trap cards. It starts no chain. It just completely locks down your opponent from being able to not do anything with their spell and trap cards. Since it is the main focus of the deck, I wanted to run at least 3 copies of this card. So with it, you have your main go-to setup when you have at least one other Naturia monster to tribute out for this card. Along with running 3 copies of Naturia Bamboo Shoot, I'm also running 3 copies of Naturia Bamboo Shoot. It may seem a little inconsistent to run another playset on top of the other playset I was already running, but this card just can set up very well in your graveyard. If you end up having, 7 cards in your hand and you have to discard one, putting a Naturia Bamboo Shoot in your graveyard for you then just to special summon back onto the field to tribute for another copy of Naturia Bamboo Shoot definitely does help with the playstyle that you're meant to do in the deck, and that is lock down your opponent from being able to use any of their spell and trap cards. And with that being one of your only way that you can go about getting the Naturia Bamboo Shoot on the field, you want to make sure you're at least running some other spell cards that you can run in the deck to make use of those Naturia monsters. For some of the other Naturia monsters, I am also running 3 additional copies of Naturia Bamboo Shoot. With this card, its card effect being a tribute effect, you probably want to run some lower level Naturia monsters just so you can summon them out into the field before you summon out your Naturia Bamboo Shoot. If that doesn't happen, you at least want to see 1 or 2 copies of Naturia Bamboo Shoot in your hand. So with a good majority of the deck being Naturia Bamboo Shoot, you really shouldn't have any problem with this being your go-to setup in the deck. And with that monster being the one that you'll probably see in your hand more than likely, since we are running more than 3 copies of it in the deck, you'll be able to have that card in your hand to utilize that main playstyle. That is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. For the spell cards, we are running 3 copies of Naturia Bamboo Shoot. The 3 copies of Naturia Bamboo Shoot for the spell lineup definitely do help when setting up all your other Naturia Bamboo Shoots that we are running in the deck. Just being able to open up this spell very early on in the game allows you to get a Naturia Bamboo Shoot into your hand and then make use of the Naturia Bamboo Shoot monsters that you may also see early on in the game. The faster you can get this card out onto the field, the more you can make use of it with your spell lineup. I know this might seem pretty redundant being the only spell that I run in the deck for Naturia Bamboo Shoot, but it at least gets you some search power in the deck for you to make use of with your other Naturia monsters. And then for the traps, I know we're also under 40 cards, but just having a smaller deck means you'll at least see more of your Naturia Bamboo Shoots when you draw into the first 5 cards of your deck. But for more protection for those Naturia Bamboo Shoots that we are also running in the deck, for the trap lineup, I'm running 3 additional copies of Naturia Bamboo Shoot. For the good majority of the ones that I was running in the main deck, they were Hidden Arsenal Chapter 1. But for the trap lineup, if you at least have 1 copy from Duelist Revolution, it will at least show your opponent that you have some other copies of Naturia Bamboo Shoot that you can run in the deck, along with the most recent reprinted copy that we picked up from the Hidden Arsenal Chapter 1 booster set. This card just adds more back row protection as well, with your Naturia monsters being able to have that setup, with Naturia Bamboo Shoot being your main go-to play in the deck. Now, as for some of the combos that you can do in the deck, all you need is the 1 Naturia Bamboo Shoot in your hand, and you also have to make sure that you have one additional Naturia Bamboo Shoot off of the draw, which I know may be a bit of a risk relying on one card to draw into for the play, but if you can at least get that second copy in your hand, you'll at least have another copy that you'll have to rely on your opponent somehow special summoning out onto the field during your turn. So this will be during turn 1 before you even have a chance to do anything else. Just hope that your opponent special summons this Naturia Bamboo Shoot out onto the field. Then you can tribute it for another copy of Naturia Bamboo Shoot. And then you completely locked your opponent out of 2 of the 3 types of cards that they can play in the deck. If they somehow manage to special summon the Bamboo Shoot from the graveyard onto their side of the field with a monster effect, then they'll either have to, crash this Bamboo Shoot into your own Bamboo Shoot to at least clear your field from any of the Naturia Bamboo Shoots that you were running. Now, I really hope you all enjoyed the deck profile. If you stuck around for this far into the video, we can actually get to the actual Naturia deck profile for the video. I hope you all enjoyed the first deck profile, but moving on now to the real deal. Starting off, we are running the 3 Naturia Bamboo Shoot. It is a great lockdown card. It just helps with being able to take away from your opponent's spell and traps, and with that not being able to start any chain whatsoever, you can activate this card, and then they have no response with cards like Torrential Tribute. The only way they can stop this card if they were to stop the summon of this card before it even hits the field. It doesn't activate any, monster effect though, so they'll have to rely on cards like Solemn Judgment. Cards like Solemn Strike won't be able to use this since Bamboo Shoot's effect does not activate. I also run the 3 copies of Naturia Camellia. With this card, it sets up a Naturia card in your graveyard, so you can send cards like your Naturia Sacred Tree to the graveyard, and then with that search, being able to add one of your Naturia spells like Naturia Blessing to your hand to give you a special summon resource, which you can then also have access to some of your extra deck plays, but also being able to have a special summon option to summon a Naturia out onto the field for you to tribute into your Bamboo Shoot. One of the other Naturias that I run are 3 copies of Mole Cricket. This is just another easy special summon from the graveyard, or when your opponent utilizes their extra deck, summoning it back from the graveyard as well, but also being able to tribute this card to give you another Naturia on the field with the tribute. And just from the monster from your deck, you could summon out Bamboo Shoot, but remember that Bamboo Shoot has to be tribute summoned to gain the lockdown playability. So with this play, you at least have more of a monster setup, so even if you don't get Bamboo Shoot out on the first turn, you have an answer to get plenty of Naturia monsters on the field for you to summon out for Bamboo Shoot. I also run 2 copies of Antjaw, same special summon premise. Every time your opponent special summons a monster, you can special summon a level 3 or lower Naturia monster from your deck onto the field. So if you use your Mole Cricket to summon out Antjaw, then you can use Antjaw to get more and more Naturia monsters, including more copies of Mole Cricket out onto the field. And for some of the lower numbers, I run 1 copy of Naturia Vane, 1 copy of Naturia Stinkbug, and 1 copy of Naturia Sunflower. Monster effect negation, battle phase ending, and also spell and trap negation, with all these cards set up on the field, and being able to use cards like Camellia as the tribute for those cards is just an added bonus. With the last of the hand trap lineup being 3 Ash Blossom, just the go-to. If you can stop your opponent's spell and traps thanks to Bamboo Shoot, you can at least use Ash Blossom to stop any searches they may try to do with any monsters that could take away from the Bamboo Shoot on the field. Moving on now to the spells, 3 copies of Naturia Blessing. If you have Bamboo Shoot, Blessing, and one of the Naturia in your hand, that could be the easiest way to tribute summon this card out on the first turn as well, summoning out that Naturia monster from your hand, and then saving the normal summon for your Bamboo Shoot. I also run 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods for another way to send Sacred Tree to the graveyard on top of Camellia, so you have an easier search for the copy. But in this version, not the previous version of the deck, this is the new updated version, we are only running 3 copies of Bamboo Shoot in. I also run for some of the one-ofs for these spells, 1 copy of Call by the Grave, 1 Monster Reborn, and for the added draw and setup power, 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent, and 2 copies of Pot of Desires. We run plenty of 3-ofs for a good majority. If we end up banishing any of the 1-of Naturias, it's not really too much of a problem, because the big play with the Desires is to have Bamboo Shoot out on the field and then drawing into some of the trap lineup to protect it while it's on the field. Moving on to the traps, I run 3 copies of Naturia Sacred Tree. It's solely just used for the search power. You could activate and have the insect plant play, but the big one here is just to have search when it's sent to the graveyard off of Camellia or cards like Foolish Burial Goods. I also run 3 copies of There Can Only Be One, another great card to shut down your opponent's setup of anything they may try to do, since you can summon out Bamboo Shoot, and with this card, still have access while Bamboo Shoot is on the field to your Naturia insect monsters. You can go for Mole Cricket, Antjaw, or even cards like Stinkbug while having your Bamboo Shoot monster on the field. I also run 3 copies of Solemn Judgment, for this is the big protection that you'll use for your Bamboo Shoot, along with 3 copies of Solemn Strike. With this back row setup, you really don't use life points for anything else in the deck. So with these cards, you have that protection to stop the one thing that Bamboo Shoot really can't stop itself, and that is monster effects. And then moving on to the extra deck, I know the Bamboo Shoot should be the main playstyle, but for the extra deck, we are running 2 copies of Naturia Beast and 1 copy of Barkion for the added synchro power that Camellia and Mole Cricket can easily provide together. And more generic synchros being 1 copy of Goyle Guardian, 1 Black Rose Dragon, and 1 Baron de Fleur for the rest of the synchros. And for the Link monsters, 1 copy of Mrs. Radiant, 1 copy of Underclock Taker, 1 Asa the Earth Charmer, 1 Nightmare Cerberus, and 1 Cross Sheep for all the Link 2s. And for the other links, 1 Link Karibo, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Apollosa, and 1 Underworld Goddess of the Cursed World. And then as for some of the go-to plays, with the main play being your Bamboo setup, like I said before, all you really need is the Blessing, 1 other Naturia monster, and Bamboo Shoot for one of the easiest setups that we've had since the new support was released in Darkwing Blast for Naturias, activating Blessing to summon out your 1 Naturia, tributing it, and then you have your Bamboo Shoot on the field. With all your opponent's spell and traps locked down, you have that play set up and ready to go. If you have an additional Blessing in your hand, you can activate it, summoning out, let's say you have an additional Naturia, Camellia in your hand. This could be the 5-card setup that you had in your hand to go with. Activating Camellia's effect, and your opponent will either have to Ash Blossom this, because they can't activate infinite impermanence anymore. Bamboo Shoot has locked them out of that play. You can then use the Camellia to send Sacred Tree to the graveyard, using that last Sacred Tree to set up your last copy with searching it out of Blessing. And then you can activate your Blessing to special summon back the Naturia of choice that was in your graveyard that you tributed for Bamboo Shoot, and then go for that synchro play, or if it was Antjaw, sit on it so you can have more to special summon out onto the field. But that is it for both of the deck profiles. Whichever one you prefer the most, definitely do let me know down in the comments. Also, do let me know which one you think was more consistent as well. I really do like the first one. I feel like I, worked harder on it, and it definitely stuck to me as more of a playable setup for the Naturia deck. But definitely do let me know down below what you all think. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Twig out.